Okay, so boys and girls, we had our problem. Let's replay our problem for our
Two girls and two boys went to the festival. The total cost of their tickets was $20. Each child paid the same amount for a ticket. What was the cost of each ticket? Solve this problem any way you choose.
So why don't you tell us what you decided to do and how you figured it out?
So first we started with the $20. So we wrote 20 divided by, and then we did 4 for the 2 girls and 2 boys equals 5. And then he wrote each child paid $5 for each ticket.
Okay, so each child paid $5 for a ticket. So each ticket costs $5. Who else came up with $5 a ticket? Very nice. Good job, everyone. Round of applause. So boys and girls, as we have learned, sometimes in math there is a hidden question that we have to figure out before we can solve the problem. And that's what we're going to be working on today. Figuring out the hidden question, or the hidden question before we can solve our problem. So boys and girls, let's get ready to watch our video that's going to help give us some strategies for figuring out and working on the hidden question before we can figure out and solve our problems.
How can you make sense of a problem and persevere in solving it? Think about this question during the lesson. A store has boxes of video games for sale. In each box, the video games are in 2 rows with 3 video games in each row. Each video game costs the same amount. What is the cost of each video game? What is the hidden question?
The hidden question is, what is the total number of video games in a box?
Think. What do I need to do? Here's my thinking. I need to make sense of the problem before I can solve it. If I get stuck, I need to persevere until I find the cost of each video game. To persevere, you can check your strategy and your work. Think. How can I make sense of and solve this problem? I can identify what is known from the problem, look for and answer hidden questions in the problem, make a plan to solve the problem, check to make sure my work and answer make sense. Let's look at the problem again. A store has boxes of video games for sale. In each box, the video games are in 2 rows with 3 video games in each row. Each video game costs the same amount. What is the cost of each video game? What information do you know? What do you need to find?
So what do we know? What kind of information do we know? What information do we know? What do we know, Mikey?
There are 2 rows and 3 games in each box.
We know that there are 2 rows of video games. And how many video games are in each row? 3. There's 3 in each row. Okay, so we know that. that's information we know. Is there anything else that we know? What else do we know about our video games? Izzy?
That it costs $54.
For the whole box, right? So we know it costs $54 for the whole box of video games. So far we know several things. We know that this box contains 2 rows with 3 video games in each row, and that the whole box costs $54. And we want to try to figure out the cost of each video game.
Here's my thinking. I know a box costs $54. There are 2 rows of 3 games in a box. I need to find the cost of each game. First, I need to find the total number of games in a box. Which operation will you use to find the total number of games in a box?
So what operation are we going to
Select
use
your answer.
to figure out how many games are in the box? What are we going to do to figure out how many games are in the box? Are we going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? What do you think, Lauren?
Multiply.
Multiply.
I will multiply the number of rows by the number of games in each row. 6 games are in a box. Then I will divide the cost of a box by the total number of games to find the cost of each game. Each game costs $9.
Okay, so 54 divided by 6 equals 9. So let's try it. So it says drag the slider to select the number of rows of video games in the box. So here's row 1. 1 row of games, 1 times 3 equals 3 games. 54 divided by 3 equals 18. Each game costs $18 if we have 1 row. In 2 rows of games, that's 2 times 3 equals 6. 54 divided by 6 equals 9. So each game costs $9 just in the 2 rows of games. If we have 3 rows of games, that is 3 times 3 equals 9, that's 9 games. 54 divided by 9 equals 6. So each game costs $6.
Does the answer make sense? How do you know?
Does that make sense? What do you think? How do we know that that makes sense? What do you think? Sophia?
Because 9 times 6 equals 54.
9 times 6 equals 54, right, there's 6 games in a box. So 54 divided by 6 equals 9, so that makes sense.
Yes, I know a box costs $54. There are 6 games in a box, so $54 divided by 6 equals $9. Now I know how I can make sense of a problem and persevere in solving it.
So when we're working, we have to keep working at it. We have to identify our hidden problem, or our hidden question, I should say. And then we have to keep working, and we have to make sure our answer makes sense. Okay, boys and girls? So we're gonna keep working, and we're gonna go into our flow. Our problems are a little different today than usual. Oh, I don't know. I went a little too far today. There we go. Third time was the charm, boys and girls. you know what, I'm gonna go back just once here to go over the steps, what we need to do. So the first thing we do is we identify what is known from the problem. We look for and answer hidden questions in the problem. We make a plan to solve the problem, and we check to make sure our work and answer make sense. So that's what we're going to be doing today in our problem. Okay, are you guys on board? Yes, we're on board, boys and girls. So here is our problem. Everybody. So 12 friends went camping. All except 4 of them went on a hike. The hikers carried 32 water bottles. Each hiker carried the same number of water bottles. How many water bottles did each hiker carry? First, tell what you know. Then explain what you need to find first to solve the problem. Okay, so what do we know? First, we tell exactly what we know first. What do we know first? What information do we know right away? That just tells us. We're not figuring anything out just yet. What's the information that we know right off the bat, Nina?
That there were 12 friends went camping.
Okay, so 12 friends. So we know about the 12 friends, so I'm gonna write 12 friends. What else do I know, Nina?
That, except 4 of them went on a hike.
4 friends don't go on the, 4 friends do not go on the hike. 4 friends. Do not hike. Okay, so we know that. What else do we know? Who
The
else? did not-
hikers carried 32 water
There's
bottles.
32 water bottles. I'm gonna write that 32 water bottles. Okay, so we know that there's 32 water bottles. And what do we need to know? What is the important information we need to know before we can even start to figure out the thing they want us to know? What do we need to figure out? What is step number 1? Izzy?
How many water bottles there is?
No, we have to figure out something before we can figure that out. Allie?
We need to figure out how many water bottles.
No, even before we know about the water bottles. Maddie?
We need to know what question we have to solve.
Well, we know that, because this is our question. Let's underline our question. There's another hidden question we need to solve. What is our hidden question? We can't solve anything without the hidden question.
Calm down.
What's our hidden question?
How many went on the hike?
Yes, how many hikers went on the hike? Don't tell me yet. How many hikers? First, we need to find out how many went on the hike. First, I need to know how many went on the hike. Because 12 went, all except 4 of them went on the hike. They're all camping, but not everybody went on the hike. So that is an important question we have to figure out. We have to solve that first. That's step 1. Boys and girls, we can't jump ahead till we know that business, right? So we're gonna figure that out. So now we have to, did everybody write that? We need everybody to write that. Now, I know that sometimes your brain's already starting to figure that out before we do anything.
8 is the answer.
Now, you know what don't tell me yet. You know what I like to do? Because remember, what does our cube strategy tell us to do? When we look at our cube strategy, it's telling us to circle our important numbers. Okay, so now boys and girls, it says tell which operation you will use, then solve the problem. It says, so now we have to figure out what operation are we going to use to figure this out. So we have several things we need to figure out. We're figuring out a few different things here. So first we have to do step 1, because we're going to figure out how many went on the height. How am I going to figure that out? How many went on the height? Amelia? How did you figure that out?
I use multiplication.
You use multiplication to figure out how many went on the height?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. Brody, how'd you figure out how many went on the height?
8 plus 12 minus 4 is
I'd say 12 minus 4 equals 8. So I would say that would probably be the best way. So let's go with subtraction. Because we started with 12 campers, board in height, so that would leave us with 8. So then we can say 8 friends went on the height. Friends went hiking. Went on the height. Okay. So we're gonna say that. Now we can go to the question that they asked us. Now we can move on to our water bottle situation. That's the main question. How many water bottles did each hiker carry? Because they carried 32 water bottles. They must have went on a really long hike. How many water bottles did they carry? So now we can look at our numbers and we have to figure out. How many water bottles are there? How many water bottles?
32.
Okay, so we know there are 32 water bottles. Okay, Eli, now what am I going to do? So we know that there's 32 water bottles. How many friends are there?
8.
8. So how do I figure out how many water bottles did each hiker carry? What's the equation? What's the operation I'm going to use? What do you think? You think I'm going to subtract? You think I'm going to multiply? When we multiply, we get even more. Are they going to have more water bottles? What do you think? Second?
dividing the
So I'm going to divide. What am I going to divide?
32 divided by 8.
32 divided by 8. 32 divided by 8, what does that equal?
4.
4. So how many water bottles is it?
4.
Yes, each hiker took 4 water bottles. Very good.
I was gonna say the
Each hiker took 4 water bottles. that right?
Yeah. I'm like, I put like, okay, I know there's 8 friends, so 32 divided by 8 is 4.
Yeah, sometimes we can do them pretty rapidly in our head, but it's good for us to go through the steps of what we need to do because sometimes we're going to have much bigger numbers for us. We're not always going to have smaller numbers. The smaller numbers give us good practice for doing the steps. Yes, Lauren?
I remember the multiplication matchup song from the 4s, and I like, because I know that one of them was 32, so I just counted by 4s,
Yes.
and I knew that it was 32.
Yes, that helped us. Very good. So now, boys and girls, we have got just a few problems here on this page. Now, what we're going to do, because this is kind of tricky, I think maybe this might be one that we might have to do together. What do we think? Do you think that you would be able to find the hidden question yourself, or do you think we need to do this together?
Yes.
I think we might have to do these together.
Yeah, Miss
Because
Brenner?
these could be difficult. So let's just look. There's only a few here. It says the answers aren't quite as involved. It says 4 students went bowling. They bowled 2 games each. The cost was $5 per game. How much money did the students spend on bowling? No noise making, I'm not gonna follow. How much money did the students spend on bowling? Explain. Tell what you know. Then explain what you need to find to solve the problem. So, let's say, what do we know? Tell me what we know so far. Ellie, what do we know?
We know that there's 4 students went bowling.
Okay, so let's write 4 students. Okay, so we'll write 4 students.
And
What else do we
They-
know?
and they did 2 games each.
2 games each. We'll write that. 2 games each.
And
What else do we know?
and the cost was $5 per game.
$5 per game. Okay. And what do we need to know?
We need to go know
What do we need to know first?
how many they bowled in all.
Yes, first, we need to figure out first, we need to figure out, first, I need to figure out how many games bowled in all. So how many games bowled in all? How many games bowled in all? That's what we want to do. So now, once we write that, then we're gonna work on our operations. We'll do our operations, okay? Our operations are going to help us. So which is going to be the first operation we're going to do to try to solve this? Mikey, what are we gonna do?
Division.
We're gonna do division first, do you think?
Multiplication.
We're gonna do some multiplication. And what are we going to multiply? We're gonna do multiplication.
4 times 2
Yes, multiplication.
times 5.
First, we're gonna do multiplication. 4 times 2, and what does that equal?
8.
8. Okay, so that's 4 times 2 equals 8. So there were 8 games bowled, right?
Yeah.
So There were 8 games bowled. Very good. So now what's the next thing we want to do? So we know how many games were bowled. What's the next thing we want to figure out? Who else can help us? We know how many games were bowled. What else can you help us with? There were 8 games bowled. Who can tell me the next thing we're going to figure out? Remember, we want to figure out how much money did the students spend on bowling. How are we going to figure that out? Brody, are we going to divide, do you think, to find out how much money they spent? And what would we multiply?
8 times 2.
8 times 2? What is 2? They bowled 8 games. So if they bowled 8 games, and we want to know how much the games cost, how much they spent bowling, how should we figure that out?
5 times 2.
Well, 5 times 2, that's, did they only bowl 2 games? How many games did they bowl, Brody?
2 games.
No, they didn't bowl 2 games. 4 students went. They bowled 8 games. They bowled 8 games. Remember? 4 students went bowling. They bowled 2 games each. So 4 students went, they bowled 2 games, so they bowled 8 games total.
5 times 4.
No, not 5 times 4. Sophia, help them out.
5 times 2.
Not 5 times 2. Isabella,
5 times 8.
5 times 8. Because it cost $5 and they bowled $5 per game, so that would be $8. $5 per game. So boys and girls, that's $40 they spent. So now we have to do 5 times 8 equals $40. The students spent $40 on bowling. Because each game costs $5. Each student counts as a game. So it's not like one group is one game. Each student has to pay $5. And they all bowled 2 games. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. You get that, boys and girls? That's how that works. Okay, how can we check that your work is correct? Lauren?
I can multiply, and if the answer's not correct, I can change it.
Yeah, we could just multiply, well, we could just multiply our factors in a different order. So we can multiply 2 times 4 equals 8, we can multiply 8 times 5. So we can change the order of our factors. We can change the order of our factors. The order of our factors. Okay, so if we multiply 2 times 4, does that still equal 8, boys and girls?
Yes.
And does 8 times 5 equal 40? Yes. Those are still correct. Very, very good, boys and girls. Very good. So boys and girls, that is all we're going to do with our math today. That was enough. Good job, boys and girls. Good job. We have persevered enough.